Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to the More Money Show. Today I have Carrie-Ann with me, and this is her third interview in the Year of Growth series. So you have heard from her before. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. We are smack dab in the middle of the Year of Growth, where I'm interviewing clients about their growth journeys. And today we're actually going to talk about what happens when you grow and then things kind of fall apart and it doesn't feel good and you have to keep growing. Because we're going to talk about the real and honest stuff that happens along that journey. So thank you, Carrie-Ann, for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Oh, same here. Thank you.
We have been giggling throughout right before we started. So this is going to be fun and truthful and raw. I feel like it's going to be awesome.
Yes.
So let's start as we always do. Tell me something awesome.
What is awesome, I think, is that I am growing. Mm-hmm. I am growing really hard. I really don't know how else to put it. So I've turned a corner and I can see now that it's awesome. But 2 weeks ago, it wasn't so awesome. So today it's definitely awesome.
I love it. So we're actually going to go back to 2 weeks ago. I love that I already had this planned based on how awesome things were 2 weeks ago. So tell me, how did people start interacting with you differently as you were stepping into your future self and showing up that way in the world?
Yeah. You know what? It was an instant reaction from people. I get comments, an awful lot, especially at work, about how happy and joyful I am, and recently I've, felt differently and I've presented myself differently, and I've gotten instant reactions as well to say, hey, what are you okay? What's wrong? You're not your smiley, happy self. So it was really such a great realization that, when my energy is changing, other people feel that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
The way people notice how we show up.
Absolutely. And even though I wasn't completely aware of the impact I was having, to have someone ask me that question, it really sort of made me pause and say, oh, okay. Yeah, my energy really does affect the people that are around me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So this is a fun one, which has become like a thing. And it's so important because this is what gets developed as we grow and we continue to grow is our signs, right? So like for me, one is definitely like pennies. Like I find in any property I've ever bought, I found a penny like generally randomly in the middle of the floor when there's nothing else there. And for you, it's really become food evidence, which is so fun.
It really is. Because listen, I'll take the food. I'll eat all day long. That's good for me.
I love it. So tell us about scripting and then the banana nut muffin.
Okay, so from my last podcast, you know that my thing was pizza. And now it seems to have graduated to anything that's banana nut chocolate chip or banana nut whatever. I was getting a lot of stuff on Facebook, on Instagram. I was seeing recipes. Our vice president at work, his wife bakes a lot on the weekend and sends stuff with him when he comes into work. So he's always got a fridge full of banana nut chocolate muffins. He's got cookies that have chocolate chips in them, all kinds of stuff. So he's always giving me this food. So whenever I get a lot of food, I know something is around the corner. I know something's happening because that is my evidence for some reason lately. So in this part of my journey, it's been banana nut chocolate something or other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you actually scripted, like in your script, there was like a local
Yes.
homemade banana nut muffin, right?
Right. No, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was one of the earlier scripts right from after the Write Your Millionaire Story
Mm-hmm.
workshop that I did with you in January. And that was so my theme was I support my local community. And in one of my scripts, I wrote that I went to a local bakery and specifically asked for a banana nut chocolate muffin. And so I guess the universe took that as its cue to send me food, of that similar nature as evidence for me.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So fun. And you have started to gather, because we're going to talk about how much you manifested in 22 days, but
Yeah.
what other evidence showed up right before that manifest? Because I think it's important for people to understand evidence and how it looks. So tell us some of the evidence that showed up before we tell how much you manifested in 22 days.
Sure. I was at my knitting teacher's home, and we were just talking, having general conversation, and she mentioned that her son in high school a few years ago won a Ford Mustang, and I'm like, whoa, okay, tell me this story. So it was a contest that the school had put on in partnership with the local dealership to just, have students enter a contest, and he actually won. So I thought that was like amazing. Like I've never heard that before. And then my same instructor, her mother-in-law's friend won $1 million. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
yeah, I know. So he is treating her every once in a while. They go out for coffee and snacks and treats. So I thought that was amazing. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. So this was on a Sunday. And then the following Tuesday, the people who come and clean my building where I work, I was sharing those two stories with them, and they said, "Oh yeah, well last time we went to the casino, we won $20,000." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what is that? Like a car, $1 million, $20,000." So, that was such powerful evidence because I really felt like, oh my gosh, something is coming, something's happening because this is not random. It's not a coincidence that these people are sharing these stories with me. And it's not like I just met these people and we're having this conversation. Like I've known these people for a while, and now, this sort of came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So, and I also shared in the Enchanted Circle because again, it's evidence for me, but it's also evidence for anyone else that needs it.
Absolutely. I love that you
Yeah.
say that. I love how much you noticed because do you think, I don't know, 7, 8 months ago, you would have like noticed all that as like so good evidence? Or even, you know what, even been even tuned in enough to hear those conversations, to have those people share that with you?
I think I might have been impressed by the stories and been,
Mm,
wow, that's really great for you. But I'm not sure that I would have related it to me in any way.
yeah.
Right. I think it might have just been, oh, that's great. I'm going to share these stories because I think they're fantastic stories to share. But I don't think it would have had an impact on me then as it did now. Because right away I knew, I'm like, oh, this is so juicy and so exciting. And I shared it with as many people as I could, my husband, my friends, my family. It was just so amazing.
Ugh, I
Yeah.
love it because you got to be in that feeling and it is amazing. And that's part of what's fun about gathering the evidence, right? Is like knowing because it's like if you have an inkling that there might be a surprise party, right? Or something like
Yeah.
everybody's kind of acting a little like, but you don't know when and you don't know where, right? But
Yeah.
you know something cool is coming.
For sure. And the other thing that was really cool about that is I truly was genuinely happy for them.
Mhm.
And it was such a good celebration. Like, I really was just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's so amazing. Tell me more. Because I really was happy for them and was really wanting to celebrate, even though all this stuff had already happened. But it was like, wow, because it is a big thing. These things impact people's lives. And, when they share these stories, they certainly have an effect on you, and even more so for me because I'm like, oh, I got to celebrate this. This is awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And so all of that evidence was leading to manifesting how much in 22 days?
Oh gosh, I think it's just a little over 18,000.
Yeah.
I know.
Definitely over
I'm so
18,000.
casual about it, glancing down at my notes, just a little over
Right?
18,000. Like I do this, every 22 days.
Which I love.
I
I
know.
love that you're practicing. Like this is just what it is, a
Yeah,
little over 18,000.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah.
how did it feel to manifest that and how, like in such a short amount of time?
Yeah. Even now I still sort of, pause and have to wrap my head around how all of it happened and how it happened so quickly. And it really felt like it was truly out of the blue. But
Mhm.
I know that it's the universe that was working in the background and, taking the time it needed to put all of this together for me
Mhm.
in such a short amount of time. So the first one, I'll just break it down real quick. The first one was an increase in my credit card by $8,000, which was, again, like when I got the letter that said, oh, congratulations, you're such a great customer,
Yeah.
rewarding you with, an increase in your credit. Instant relief, instant relief for me. I was close to my limit, and
Mhm.
it's okay. I was okay with that. This additional $8,000 just gave me more space. It gave me
Yeah.
more room to breathe.
Mhm.
And so I welcomed that immediately. That was just like amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the next two, they were retirement investments that I had contributed to a long time ago, but completely forgot about. Um, I was getting emails saying, here's your account statement, here's your account statement, but I'd forgot my logon credentials and I just couldn't be bothered to ever follow through on that. And finally I did. I think my future self said, oh, wait a minute, here's some money for you. So let's go get that. So the first one was just over $2,000 in investment, retirement savings investment. And then the second one was just over $2,500 in retirement investment. So I was just totally shocked. I think that probably shocked me more than the increase to my credit, because I completely, like, that was not in my knowledge at all. Like, it's not like I said, oh, I know it's there, when I need it, I'll get it. No, I was completely shocked. When I called them, I would say, like, are you sure? Are you sure that's how much is in there? And I would, yes, this is the last time you contributed and this is the interest that it's earned. So I was just so completely shocked. And then I put it together like, oh my gosh, that's over $10,000. So that was from February 6th to February 25th.
It's amazing.
Like again, wrapping my head around that has gotten easier because there it is. But
Yes.
as it was happening, it was like, I can't, what is happening? It really was, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing I did, which is kind of a different vein, I switched to a lower interest credit card. So my
Mhm.
credit card was 19.5% interest, and I switched to 11.9 interest now, percent interest now. And you asked me to calculate what the difference in interest would be from, my current balance at the higher interest and then the current balance at the lower interest. And it was almost $4,500 difference
It's amazing.
that I was saving just by switching a card.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
that's how easy it was.
Yes. I
That's how
love
easy it
that.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that, sometimes people go, "Oh, well, you could have done that before," right? But it was being open. It was being seeing it. It was saying like, "Oh, yeah, I could do that," right? Is as
Yeah,
much a part of this as like just getting it out of the clear blue. It's being able to see what's in front of you, right?
for sure. And also recognizing that, um, even though it's not cash in hand, like I didn't get $8,000, I didn't get, $5,000 cash in my hand. This is still money that is available to me.
Yes.
So that counts. That
Absolutely.
counts. And I listened to Maggie McReynolds' podcast today, and she
Mhm.
she mentioned the same thing, that we're so quick to dismiss money that we manifest because of, XYZ. Well,
Mhm.
the credit card company gave me the $8,000 because I'm a good customer, or, because my balance is so high and they're getting on this interest. Okay, yes, However, I am a good customer and
Yeah.
I am being rewarded for that. That is money. That's extra money that's available to me. So
Mm-hmm.
it's 100% legit as far as the manifestation goes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I think being open to the different ways that money comes to you. It's not just a cash transaction. It's, it's having a line of credit, it's having extra credit, it's having money that's in an investment account that you forgot about. And if I want to take it out, I have to pay taxes on it. Okay. It's still money that's available to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a little doubt when all this sort of came to pass. I'm like, but it's not really money. Well, of course it's really money. Like, if I wanted to go
Mhm.
buy a $2,000 bed set on my credit card, I could do that. So
Yes.
that's money,
Yes.
right? So
Totally.
again, it's just being open to the different ways that money comes to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's being open and like being willing to recognize and love that and see, because for you that credit increase that made you able to breathe, like there was more peace, right? Which
Yes.
opens the path even bigger, because when you're in that space of peace, more money can come in. And so then it's like, oh, here's this account you didn't know about, and
Yeah.
here's this other account
I
you didn't know
know.
about,
Yeah.
right?
And it was so much fun. It was so
Mhm.
much fun to make those phone calls and have them tell me my balance. And I'm just like, I'm writing it down. I'm like, what? Like, and when I question them, are you sure? They're like, well, of course we're sure. Like, this is what we do.
Yes.
No, we're just pulling your leg. There's 10
Yeah.
bucks in there. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But for
Yeah.
me, it was hard to believe that that was there for me.
Hmm.
So it really was fun. It was super fun to celebrate. It was, super fun to share that news, with some of the closer people in my circle, because they're all like, that's over $10,000, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I just manifested over $10,000 in like 3 weeks. Like,
Yes.
okay, yay me. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Which is so awesome.
yes,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
And if you can do it once, you can continue to do it, right?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And
Yeah.
it the feeling that I got from all of that was just, again, it was so much fun. It was so joyful that it's definitely something I want to keep experiencing in my life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love it. So I have a question for you. So in theory, it took a little longer, if you want to get technical, than 90 days to manifest the $10,000, right?
Yes.
Which like happens, and I tell people this all the time, like often it happens at day 96 or day 120, right? And I just want to know, like, now that it's happened and it keeps happening, does it matter if it took a little longer than 90 days?
Oh no, definitely not. I I think for me in the beginning it mattered because, the 90 days had come and gone twice
Yes.
because I did manifest 10K twice. And, I didn't get the monetary results.
Hmm.
Um, so again, there was a lesson there, to understand that it's a process and it's different for everyone. And my big and here's my evidence 100% that trusting the process works.
Hmm.
Doing doing manifest 10K twice, taking the workshop, being in the enchanted circle, all of that combined, and my willingness to be here and be present every day, and embrace this new way of thinking and this new way of being, it has resulted in this huge manifestation for me, as long as other lessons that I'm learning along the way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. What do you think? How do you think taking Manifest 10K twice supported you?
I think it prepared me more. It allowed me to, do a lot of growing at the beginning, because when I started, I came here fresh and, with all my old stories, and then doing Manifest 10K, cleared some of that out. And then
Hmm.
taking it the second time, again, I was able to go deeper and push more of those limiting beliefs, push more of those boundaries, and open myself up more to receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And not just receiving, money. It, it was a whole lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
It's allowed me to live a more joyful life and realizing what's important and what doesn't need to be an issue every day. It's that old story, and you move on from that and you break free from that and you start creating stories that you want to be true, stories that you want to tell every day. So there's that evolution, and the more you practice, the more things come to pass. And it's brilliant, and it's so much fun, and it's fun to celebrate other people's successes, and it's fun to see other people grow.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because that's so important, right? Is being willing to be in it for the growth and be in it to, figure it out. And I was going to ask you this question, but you sort of answered it. I'll give you time if you want to answer any more, but you had said on a call, it's not about the money anymore. And it's one of my favorite things to
Yeah.
hear. And so do you want to say any more about that? Like how it has become about a life and living and all of that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the money is great, obviously, because that's how the world works. We need money to support ourselves, pay our bills, do the things we want to do. But more so than that, and I think what has become more important to me and more valuable is, living a life that I truly want. And by that, I mean being a happy person every day. You know, it's interacting with people in a more positive way. It's allowing, my environment to go on every day and not affect me as much as it used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to stay in my own lane and stay in my joy every day. And am I 100% happy-go-lucky every day? No, because I'm still human. I'm having a human experience, and I have human reactions. You know, but I also have new tools, and I have new ways of thinking that allow me to just sort of pause and step back, and you look around me and say, okay, I reacted to that. That's all right. I can get myself back to feeling good, because that at the end result, like for me, the goal is I want to feel good. I want to feel happy. I don't want to be anxious and miserable and, not sleeping at night and thinking about, all kinds of awful things that could happen. No, I'm here. I'm present. I live every day with joy. And, I'm experiencing these wonderful moments in my life. I run into people like strangers and people in my current life that are, I can see them blossoming. I can see them growing. I can see their joy. And, like attracts like. So the more I'm that way, the more I invite that into my life. And I think for me, that's the biggest key right now is, I want to get back what I put out. So I'm putting out nothing but happiness and joy and love. And that's what I'm getting back.
I love it.
Yeah.
So good and so powerful. And we know as studiers of the law of attraction that the more you tap into those feelings, the more you welcome even more money. So it's all circular and it's all tied together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about all the awesome stuff. And I love that you're brave enough to have the conversation that we're about to have. So let's talk about what happened after that high of,
Oh.
oh my gosh, I manifested $1,000 in 22 days.
I crashed. It's plain and simple. I don't know how else to say it. I crashed. I crashed and burned. And it's funny because you and I were just talking about it before the podcast, is that my very first huge manifestation was the job I'm at now.
Yeah.
And this same thing happened shortly after that. Is I just fell off the rails. I don't want to spend a lot of time describing that space, but that's what happened. I just stopped. I felt like I ran into a brick wall, that I couldn't make any more progress, and I couldn't see, that more things were going to come to me down the road. So after, this recent huge manifestation, like this is probably bigger than the job, the same thing happened. I just sort of, um, it really did. It feels like I ran into it. Like I was happy, celebrating, skipping, and looking around, and all of a sudden, boom! I just hit this brick wall, and fell on my backside, and couldn't get back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything was different, and the joy wasn't there anymore. And I wanted to just quit. I wanted to quit the Enchanted Circle. I wanted to quit LOA altogether. I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't make anything work. I didn't want to share what I was going through with the group. I didn't want to share it with you. I didn't want you to ask me those questions that would, push me and make me, look at what was happening, and not telling those stories. And I didn't want to do any of that. I got to a point where it was just I was so low. But I didn't quit because I really didn't want to. I didn't want to. I just didn't want to pull myself up from the muck. I didn't feel I had the energy. And I just wanted to be done with it. But I stayed. I came to the Monday calls. I shared what I was feeling. I got feedback. You and I worked together to figure out what would work for me. And, it wasn't always pleasant. It was very uncomfortable. But I'm happy to say that I've turned that corner. We found something that works for me, and it's working.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm coming out on the other side.
I love that you shared it. And that's such a good, I've never thought of it that way, but that's sort of what it is, right? It's like, I'm just happy, like I'm spinning, and all of a sudden there's this wall that you literally don't see coming because you're so happy, and you're on the ground and you can't get up because, I see the cartoon vision, right?
Exactly.
Like I can't, right?
Yeah.
And, and it is so good. And it's part of, I love before the call, you told me something that I've told you many times. It's not all sunshine and roses. And you're like, it's not all sunshine and roses. We have to grow through it. I'm like, you're so right. Right.
And you know what? So one of the recommendations you gave me just this past Monday was to go back and read my millionaire story. And I did that. And one of the last things at the end was I think it was describe I don't know how would you describe this whole process? And oh my gosh, I said, it's like being a seed. You're in this dark hole, you're covered with dirt, and you have to make your way up around the roots and the rocks and the animals that might be nibbling on you, and then you come out the side and you're this beautiful pretty flower. And I'm like, oh geez Louise, like I cannot sit here and say that I'm not asking for this growth.
Yes.
Because I'm 100% asking for this growth. And you might think, are you nuts? Like, why do you want this? Why do you want to feel this? But I know through personal experience that going through these periods truly does help you grow. It gives you a different perspective. It gives you strength. It gives you confidence. And it really does allow you to open up more. Now, is that what I'm thinking when I'm, feeling this way? Absolutely not. It's the furthest thing from my mind. It's like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I listen to other podcasts and I read other things I've written. I'm like, oh yeah, bring it on. I'm like, oh my goodness. The universe is delivering.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple. So, again, another opportunity for me to grow. And now looking back, I can see it, that it truly is an opportunity to grow. But even up until just Monday, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to get out of this. I have no idea. I'm just putting one foot in front of the other, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't have to try to figure it out. And I think too, I was doing that. I was like, oh, I got to figure this out. How is this going to work? Everyone's doing this and nothing's working for me. Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be in this space until you find something that does work for you. And
Mm-hmm.
it came through a conversation that you and I had in the Enchanted Circle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
okay to land in that space and feel it. And that's one of my favorite things that you've learned is that even though, like, I know you did it this time, right? Because I know now you know how to feel. And so you were feeling it.
Yeah.
And so it was even worse than the last time. Because the last time you only sort of knew how to feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so like this time felt even worse. And I love
Yeah.
that you keep showing up. Like you're the example of what growth looks like, is showing up when it's raining and when it's pouring and when there's it just feels like a tornado, right? It feels
Yeah.
like nothing is right, because this is part of, like, things have to break down to be rebuilt, like literally inside us. Like things have to come apart to be created into something different. And that's a lot of times what we feel. I love that you can look back and see the pattern now, right? You're like, this has happened before, right? And you're open to it. It's like, yeah, that is what happened. Okay, I can do this again, because from my experience, it's the same. It happens in a similar way, right? Like, so for you, it really
Yeah.
feels like hitting that brick wall and nothing works. For somebody else, it might feel like, just like, I would come home. I was telling somebody this story the other day, like from something that was like super amazing and took me to another level, and just like bawl. And I'm like, what's wrong? And finally, after I saw the pattern, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, when I grow really big and have really big opening experience,
Yeah.
then everything, has to fall away, be sloughed away. And the things that don't fit anymore have to process through us. And we all do it a little bit differently, but it's generally uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm finding that there's new ways. I don't want to say there's new ways of me to hit low, but there, I know I'm trying to word this so that it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that, but it's different. So it's different now than it was the first time. Like, the last couple of Mondays, I sort of had these anxiety attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm in the car on my way to work crying my face off. And just, talking to myself. And, at first it's like, oh, no, don't do this. And I'm like, no, stop. You have to do this. You have to feel the feelings, and I was angry and I was sad, and I let that come out. I
Mm-hmm.
let it come out. It has to come out. And it felt good to release that. And it felt good to say, okay, it, it's okay. Again, so give myself permission to be in this space, give
Mm-hmm.
myself permission to feel this. I may not have understood exactly why, that was happening. Like there wasn't one thing that set it off. It's a combination of things, and that's okay. But being in that space and not repressing it or not pushing it down just allowed me to continue on with my day and not have it be, something that's hanging over my head and, oh my God, I have to change my mood. I have to be happy. No, I released it. I let it go. And then I continued on with my day, one foot in front of the other, one breath at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to figure it out. I didn't have to find an answer. And there's power there for me in that moment.
Absolutely. Like huge power, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember you were like, I'm not going to do anything that's inauthentic, which means I'm not going to
Yeah.
not feel. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I've I've lived my life that way where you just have to soldier on, stiff upper lip, and that didn't feel good. you know,
Mhm.
and breaking down in my car didn't feel good either, but it was a moment in time. It
Mhm.
wasn't a whole lifestyle where you have that big weight on your chest and you feel like you can't breathe. So I had it for, a half an hour when I was, driving into work.
Mhm.
And, again, then being able to move on with my day. And then just sort of reflecting back, and especially now since Monday, and we had, so, working through it and having conversations,
Yeah.
and, being prompted to think about things in a different way, because when you're in that space, all you see is the crappy stuff, like, oh, great, this, that, and the other. But when you see it a different way, like in a turning point for me was when you said, okay, saying that this is old story is not serving you anymore. Try saying, is this my future self? And that clicked. Like, that was like, oh, okay, like, no, this isn't my future self. Instead of saying, well, this is old story, no, is this your future self? And that's a super easy question to answer, and it's not giving any more energy to the old story. I don't need to acknowledge old stories anymore. So my focus now is this how my future self is? Right. And so and then identifying every day how my future self shows up, that's been a huge turning point for me as well, because now I'm not worried about the 4 questions that, you ask about your future self. That wasn't resonating with me, and it was causing, sort of more anxiety, like, oh, I can't answer these questions, or, I'm not at the right moment to have those questions be asked. But now I'm looking for, oh, how is she showing up today?
Yes. Putting
And
the energy where you want it, right?
Yeah, and it's so much easier to see how she's showing up every day.
Yes.
Right? So I like that. It's creating that connection that I was trying so hard to figure out. What do I need to do to connect with her? Because again, there's some people that have some pretty powerful connections with their future selves, and I admire them, and it's so inspirational. I'm like, I want to get there. How do I get there? Like, just tell me what I need to do. I got to figure this out. But it was just a simple change in perspective, and just saying, yeah, what would, how is this her? Is how you are right now her? That's super easy to answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So what would you tell yourself who was at the beginning of sort of this, I call this like the breakdown, like now, if you could go back and tell her something, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to be careful what she wishes for. Bring it on. Oh yeah, it was rotten. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know what? I think I would just tell her that, growing and learning, it truly is a journey. Like, I don't want to, sound trite by saying it, but it really is a journey. Sometimes you're skipping the path, and sometimes, you trip and fall. Sometimes you get distracted, you're off in the field playing. But it's all for the greater good. It's all for, you to reach that place where you want to be. So even though it's, you have happy times and you have, challenging times, it's all worth it. It's all worth it, because the person I was, before I started working with you, and the person I am now, and even coming out from the end of this, sort of this breakthrough, she's very different. She was different in the first podcast I did. She's different in the second podcast I did, and she's different now. It's sweeter every time I learn something, and every time I go through something, I come out with more knowledge. I come out with more wisdom. I feel more confident, and I feel like I will get there. I will get to that place that my future self is. So I would tell her, just, keep going. It's life. It's the human experience. Good things happen and not so good things happen. It's how you react to it and how you choose to move through it. And I choose to move through it in a positive, joyful, kind, and compassionate way, with myself. Yeah.
I love that. You're amazing. Any final thoughts? I'm so excited for the next interview.
Oh my God. I thought you were going to say for the next breakthrough. I'm like, zip it.
I do.
let me get through this one,
Yes.
Cassie.
No, just the next interview, because
Oh,
it's going to
yes,
be
yes.
just like so much,
Yeah,
because you have come through it, right? Because you
yes,
went through it, right? And I
yeah,
commend you for that, because that is the moment that some people turn and go back. Like, it's not a
yeah,
given that you walk through it. And so, super happy that you chose to walk through it. And like, we get to have this conversation where we're rolling on the ground before the call, like laughing about just what we both go through as we grow, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
like we were saying beforehand too, it's like, it's the drama, it's the, like really truly when you're in it, it's like you're a 2-year-old throwing yourself on the floor because you don't get your toy. It's just so like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm done. So, last parting words, I think, would be, this isn't for the lighthearted. You really have to show up and be present, and
Mhm.
through the good stuff and through the not so good stuff. But the Enchanted Circle offers so much support. You offer so much support. Listening to everyone's stories in the group, reading stuff on Kajabi, all of it combined, you know, gives you that level of support that you don't realize is there until you need it. Like when
Mhm.
you're going in every day and sharing all the nice positive things, that's great. When you hit those moments where it's a little lower and you read these things, it really does let you know that it's okay. Success will come, changes will come. Everyone is going through it on some level or another, and to hear someone else's success story is just so heartwarming, and it's encouraging, and it's inspiring. So just keep at it, one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. Take a deep breath. It's all going to work out.
Mm, I
Yeah,
love that. And that feels like
yeah.
the right place to say thank you for being here today. And thank you for sharing all of your story. Appreciate that. And I know everybody listening does. So thank you for being here. Make sure to catch Carrie-Ann's next interview in the Year of Growth series, and tune in next week for another awesome interview about the process of growing and stepping into your future self. Thank you, Carrie-Ann.
Thanks, Cassie. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.